Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stream. Once again, I promise no singing this time. I'm still plugging away here. Doing a little bit of optimization at this point in time. There's a few things here that I thought I would try and get right while I work on this little portion of the project here. One of those things being the collision. So I made a fairly high poly version of this shelf, and I probably could reduce it if I really cared to, but I'm not really worried too much about my poly count right now. I'm probably a million and a half in my world, which is not too bad in terms of having an entire world. And again, I really just have the one basement, so I'm not overly concerned about polygon counts as such, and so I've kind of left it at 1.5 million here, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. So I'm going through and fixing up some of my collision here. The shelf was a little higher resolution in terms of the collision than I'd have liked it to have been, and so I'm just replacing the polygonal version of the collision here with some collision boxes that I'm putting in just to help me duplicate, just to help me get something a little bit easier on the engine. So I went through and looked at my world in collision model mode. Yeah, just to, have a gander at how things were going. So yesterday I had a little hitch. I had a little bit of lag in the performance, and I wasn't able to figure out where it was coming from. And so I started digging deep into the profiling of UE4, trying to figure out what the hell, man, like where am I losing all of my performance. And it was bizarre because it was coming in the form of almost a pulse that was every 4 seconds, and I couldn't figure it out. So here's my world, and you'll see now these are the just the collision volumes for my world, which is what we're looking at here. So you'll see that I mean, it's all right. Nothing's crazy high res. There's a few things that are missing, like the beams that need to go to the ceiling. I had to remove the collision on some of them, and it's because I was using the same beam to go vertically as I was as a floor joist, and that was causing a problem in regards to my tarp here, and so that had to be changed and removed. And so I then went in and started just redoing some of the collision. You'll see here if I hit play that there is no hitch in performance anymore. I have fixed the issue. So, of all things, where the issue was coming from is actually a plugin, an Unreal plugin that was preloading, and I have no idea why it was doing this. But it was a networking plugin, and I'm actually not doing any networking in terms of multiplayer or anything like that. I am going to have this thing try to send an email, which is going to be one thing, but I'm pretty sure I don't need the networking side of things for that. And so I was able to just remove that plugin, and as soon as I did, my performance came right back, and you can see it's pretty beautiful right now in terms of the performance. I forget what my frame rate is, but it's somewhere about 90 frames a second right now, and so it's running really, really well. I also went in and trimmed the lighting in here down. So I went from having 9 lights in the basement, which, to be honest, felt like overkill when I did it. And I'm down to 1 light here, 1 light here, and 1 light just on the other side of this. There's McGarlic. I still want to figure out a little bit of a better solution for the lighting with these assets, because it is really, 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 really harsh, the lighting. And again, it's kind of it's based off of the actual world that you find yourself in. So I might have to set a. See, we'll see. I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet. But anyway, all my pickups are still working. The only issue I'm having right now is just the how dark it is back here. And so I'm going to have to find a means, a reason to light up back here. And so what I might do is I might put an old fridge kind of in this corner and crack the door open in the fridge and have light kind of spew out from the fridge, which might be enough to light up that room. I've got a placeholder. This is new here. A placeholder for my wash basin, which currently is not textured. I just went and threw that in, along with some of the piping for it here. This is just going to be PVC piping as it leaves the basin. And actually, the piping doesn't make a lot of sense. You probably don't want to run. This is coming out of the drain here. And I've actually got it going into the floor as well, so it is making sense, but this would be an exit this way, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And the other thing, it's a really big change in this part of the world from last any of you saw it, is that I've gone and redone the walls. So all of the walls that you see here now, these guys here, these are the far more completed versions of the walls, and in fact, I do have the ability to go up these stairs now. I can't go, there's nowhere to go up there, but in fact, these stairs they're not even flush with where they're supposed to be. You can see outside the world up here. But I don't have the ability to jump, and I can't get across there. And so I got to fix that still. I'm going to move the stairs to bridge that void. But again, I'm going to have a door at the top of the stairs here cracked open with some light coming down here. So hopefully that'll illuminate this part of the room. And so so now that I've got my performance kind of back here again, and that the system is behaving the way that I had originally wanted it to behave, I'm kind of pleased with the way that it's working. And so it's now just a matter of kind of get a bunch more assets done. There is yet another portion of this. Hey, what's up, guys? Sorry, I had the chat window over in behind Unreal, so I couldn't actually see it. But I've closed the little browser, so now I can see you. What's up? What's up? How you doing? How you doing? So here's the other thing that I spent a good chunk of time on. I was playing around with this yesterday. Was my menu system. Let's save everything here. And I've actually made tremendous headway with my menu system in that I've got me some background audio and some particles that are now floating in on the environment here. I got rid of the really harsh depth of field and added in some volumetric fog. And so we're now getting, just kind of a little bit of ambiance. I think I'm going to put a few more things on the table here. It doesn't quite feel cluttered enough for me, so I think I'm going to stack a few things here. I do want to avoid covering this is the tarp in the background here, and it's swaying and moving, and so I want to kind of leave that the way it is. No, so there's actually a problem with the chain, which is why I removed it. Which is again one of those reasons that I'm probably not going to be using a lot of the mega scans moving forward. The UVs on the mega scans are broken, or at least on that asset are broken. And as a result, I don't actually have a light map on the chain. So every time the game plays, when the chain is in the world, it throws an error. I always get a caution, light map, UVs overlap by 38%. Fix your shit. And I'm all like, it's not my shit though. And they're all like, yeah, but you gotta fix it anyway. And I'm all like, I'm not fixing somebody else's shit. And then I delete the chain. So that's that. I'm not going to not going to be doing anything else with that. So I just noticed that I leaned the little grate here up on nothing, which is not helpful. And so I'm going to go and move that a little bit. I'll turn off the snapping here too. I'll go lean it up against this metal thing here. And again, I want to kind of clutter this up a little bit more because I kind of like the way that it looks. Again, one of the things that I should be doing here, I'm going to turn my camera back on and pin the viewport here so that I can actually see where things are going as I place them. Let's go to local again, rotation local, and I'm going to rotate this thing 90-ish degrees. Sit it on the table there. It's just so we're looking inside the crate here, because I'm going to put a few things inside there as well. Old wooden door, old wooden bench, old wooden stove. Beam, wooden box, wooden pallet. Oh, the wooden pallet would be a good addition to this as well. If I can find somewhere to put it. Let me try and rotate it up and lean it against the... furnace here. I'm going to have to move it down. And so, yeah, anyway, I made some pretty good headway with the environment here in terms of... oh, that's some harsh lighting. I'm going to have to go grab my point light. No, it's this one. So I put a point light inside of the furnace, like so, which is what's giving me my beam of light across here. And I think I'm going to scale the furnace up a little bit more. So one of the issues that I'm having with that is that the furnace now doesn't fit in the room, which is bad because it means that the wall inside the furnace gets lit up by that light, which then the light bleeds outside the furnace. And so I either got to make the room big enough to contain the furnace or abandon it. And so I may go and move some things around a little bit. So I don't want to move this because I kind of like how it's positioned. Let me do another light bake here because we're getting no shadowing in here. But yeah, I've kind of just been fooling around with this room a little bit, making sure that my scripting and my widgets work the way that they're meant to, and that they're actually rendering things correctly, which so far they are. It seems to be pretty flawless in terms of the way that the system is set up. And so yeah, I'm just going to go in and kind of fill in a few more of the empty spots in the shelf here. And then again, this kind of empty void here. Now, I ended up getting rid of the candle, and there was a couple of reasons for this. When I was doing my my tests for optimization, the candle struck me as one of those things that was not doing what I wanted it to do. It was not behaving the way that I wanted it to behave. And part of the reason for that was that I had it going on tick. And so I've reconfigured the light here to edit. I reconfigured it to be a little bit more even, so it's not bouncing on tick anymore. I've just got a looping timeline, which isn't quite as expensive as the loop, and so that should give me with no tick. I've been able to clear the tick on almost everything. I've got just a couple more things that are on tick, and right now I'm actually, like I said, I've cleared up all the performance issues, so I'm not concerned about tick anymore. But since I had optimized the candle, it wasn't quite doing what I wanted it to do. You can see how beautiful those particles are turning out. They're just little dots that I've got kind of drifting about the environment, but they catch the light really nicely, and again, they're one of those things that break up the stillness of the shot without having anything kind of animated in the world. Which is why, again, I want to have the tarp in here, because just that slight little bit of movement is going to be useful. So my lighting has built, and I did not get an error message because the chain is gone. So screw you, Mr. Chain. And my lighting is bonkers. So this is what happens to the wall when the light is in the furnace, but the furnace is in the wall. And so the light bulb that's inside the furnace, it's inside here, this one here, it's actually lighting up that wall through the mesh. And so this is the issue with having the furnace in the room here, is that I either make it work scale wise, or we abandon it altogether. And so that's what I'm working on now. I really like the having the I'm gonna go and change its scale here. That is locked. It might just be that I'm making I'm getting to a point where it's starting to bother me, the scale of everything, which in part is just that I'm supposed to be a little small room, but I've put so much stuff in here that it's become a little difficult to get to a point where I can actually make it all work. Anyway, I'm going to move that over there. I'm going to see about scaling this guy up. I don't think there's any way I'm going to get it to its full size. Oh, maybe I can. That is actually full size. So let's move it back here. And again, I don't want it to be inside any of the walls. So as much of a gap as I can give it. I like it being this foreground element too. I'm going to need to rebuild the lighting again. I think before that, though, let's not bother with the lighting for now. So the lighting now is going to give me this really harsh line up here, which is not ideal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and change the scale of my mesh. I'll try that again. Like so. And we'll lock this back up. And what that's done is it actually just opened the door the other side. So I just mirrored it. It means that it's not going to say Turner Made anymore. It's going to say Edom Renrut. But that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. You got it, Bray? I don't know if it's bike time or slushy time, but I'll see you when you come back. We're going to go to Unlit, and I'm going to just shuffle some of the items around here in order to get them positioned in a way that makes sense. So maybe we'll take these two, shift them over here a little bit, and get this kind of out of that. Something like that. I may have to move this thing back. Anyway, let's take the coat hook, or the coat rack. I'll move it over here. Do I have room over there? I don't really have room over there. I'm gonna shove it in there, make it fit. I'm gonna rotate this guy. I like this mesh because it's really long, and that gives me the ability to kind of add a lot of like angular shapes to stuff. You know, I can lean it on the couch and have it, you know, take up a good chunk of room. I'm gonna pull this over. I'm gonna scale this down a little bit and see if I can't fit it in a little bit better. Obviously, the barrel is going to have to move. And this guy, I'm going to go put up on the shelf here. Like so. And yeah, that barrel's going to have to go. I'll put the barrel over here. And we'll drop it to the ground. Put it there. And again, I've got this barrel kind of as a foreground element here. And it might be cool if I bring the barrel closer to the camera and place a candle upon it. I'm getting a little bit of tangential growth here with, it looks like this mesh here. So I'm going to go and scale this guy up a little bit. I'm just looking to make sure that the crate doesn't mesh with the top of the candle, so by scaling it up a little bit, moving it back a little bit, I do want it to catch that light. And let's see about moving the candle forward a little bit. Maybe there. And I'm going to turn it until I get some of the wax visible, but also the flame visible. And then, yeah, I wanted to put some more clutter on the table. Let's see what we can do with that. Cause love don't live forever. Alright, this mesh. Wrong one. That's that. I want mega scans. 3D assets. So I'm going to see if I can get away with using the cardboard boxes here. God, they are itty bitty, these boxes. I'm going to try and see if there's tape on this one. No tape, but there's a label. Okay. So I don't know how many of you fine folk follow me on Instagram, but I posted a picture yesterday that I've been laughing at for a couple of days now. I went upstairs yesterday after a long day of work doing game development-y type things, and when I got upstairs, my daughter had a question, and I was like, that's a really good question. And she was asking me about the difference between a static mesh and a skeletal mesh. And I was like, that's pretty good. And I explained it to her. And I said, why are you, what's the deal? Where did you hear those terms before? And she's like, it's in the game I'm making. And I said, the what you're whatting? And I went and took a look at what she was doing, and sure as shit, she was in the game editor for a game that she plays with her friends, and she was making a world, making her own version of a level. And so I kind of had a chuckle at that, and then ended up sitting down and looking at what she was doing, and started playing around with the system with her a little bit. It was pretty funny. I had a proud moment with my daughter as she was making games for the first time. It was pretty cute. Okay, what do we got in here? That's the big wooden ammo crate. I got a shovel. I think I'm going to try and rest the shovel on top of this box. Let's see what I can do with this here. So maybe something like that. It's just getting the hint of something there. She is 7, Raina, and yeah, it was pretty cute to see. She is very much taken back. So this has nothing to do with me. This has nothing to do with me being her father, and has all to do with the fact that COVID-19 is keeping her from her friends. And she and all of her little girlfriends have all, as a means of being able to stay close and stay together, they've all started gaming, and they all started gaming in the same game, and they're all kind of playing in the same area, and that's keeping them close together, which is kind of a cute thing. It's kind of a neat way for them to stay in touch and whatnot. And she is unhappy that the game wants her to spend money on costumes and things like that, and so she's looking at ways that she can build her own. She's like, well, screw that, I can make a picture, and she's going in and she's retexturing avatars and making clothing and stuff like that, and so she's having a blast doing it. As much as I want to take the credit for her interest in game making, it has so little to do with me. I don't play her game, which makes me not cool. But yeah, here's a picture of her going to town, plugging away in her game engine and doing her thing. Sitting at my wife's computer upstairs in our little homework nook, and it is worth noting that it is like 5 or 6 in the afternoon. I don't know if I can see the clock here. 5:46 p.m., something like that, and she is in her jammies still. She got up, sat at the computer, started plugging away, and that was her thing. So this is actually the game editor that she's in here, going to town, doing her thing. And so, yeah, I'm now just tech support, daddy tech support. That's all I am to her. But anyway, she's really enjoying it, and it's kind of neat to see the little wheels turning. I don't know that she'll ever actually get into game development. I don't know if that's something that she's got any interest in doing. This is more about being with her friends than anything else. Which, I mean, gaming is like that for some people too, right? Where it's a social thing, right? We communicate and we are friends with people online, and that's a good chunk of why games do what they do and whatnot. But she's starting to develop a little bit of a fun for doing that, and she's also starting to take orders from her friends for clothing, where they're like, oh, I would love a shirt that looks like this. My daughter's like, I'm on it. And then she's like, Dad, what's that shopping program you use for making the clothing? And I'm like, shopping program? What the hell are you talking about? And she's like, the one with the shopping, the photoshopping. And I'm like, oh, that's not shopping, it's Photoshop. And yes, it's called Photoshop. She's like, how do I do that? I'm like, well, you don't have Photoshop on that computer. She's like, okay, I'm coming to use your computer. And I'm like, get in line, sister. You don't just take daddy's computer. That's not how that works. But also I'm a sucker for my daughter, so yeah, I just moved over and let her do her thing. So again, I'm watching this little window here as I go and place some of this stuff in, which is not too bad. I think another vertical element here would be good, though I'm not going to push it too far. I'm going to try and yeah, we'll see. Let me switch this back over to lit and do another light bake. Now that I've got this stuff in here. Build lighting only. And we'll see how this goes. Yeah, that's the idea, right? That's how they get their hooks in all of us, Yash, is that, you find out how fun it is to do this stuff, and then that's it. And you kind of snowball from there. One of the first game development stories of my career actually happened in high school. Grade was I in? It must have been grade 10. Yeah, it was grade 10. And our school had just done away with the typewriters. There was a typing class, and people were learning to type on typewriters. Yes, that is how old I am. And they had just done away with that. The school had just purchased a bunch of computers. And my group was the first group to get a programming class, and we were making. It was a lot of fun. There were some really neat things that we did. There was a lot of math that we did. We were bouncing numbers back and forth between the decimal system and binary and hexadecimal, learning how to convert the numbers on the fly so that you could actually just translate them from one value to another without too much effort. And the final in that class was to make a video game, to make a game. And we were programming in QBasic, which was my God, an ancient language. But it was one of the first instances I ever got at game logic and understanding the flow of how gaming works. And I made a game. I just made craps. And it would we weren't there was no graphics or anything. It was just all text that was spitting out. But I had gone all the logic of my game done well ahead of schedule. And ended up doing some very rudimentary graphics with just drawing sprites to the screen, or drawing pixels to the screen rather, and made some die and made the dice roll and stuff. It was pretty cute. But I ended up getting that done long before my final, and the teacher that I had ended up having me just float around the room and help other students. And that was one of the first times that I was like, oh my God, I love doing this. I would go to parties. I didn't own a computer. My family didn't have a computer. But one of my good friends did. One of my buddies, where I would hang out at his place. His family had a computer, and I would go to his place. Let me test this out here. That's not too bad. I can still see the tarp moving in the background, and I'm getting a little too much blur in the foreground here, and so I may go and shove that back a little bit. Definitely digging that though. So let me go into my camera and find my focal distance, and I'm going to swap it to there, and then I need the that's not it. That's the f-stop. Where is there's my max focal distance. 1,000 meters, no. Lens settings. 85. Oh, yeah. So I'm just trying to blur out the background a little bit and keep just the candle in focus. work if I didn't have the camera selected still. So it's not too bad. The one problem I have is that my lighting doesn't match the glow that's coming from the camel. Doesn't actually match the flame. And so this may not be the asset to have full screen here in the foreground. Let's see what else I can put there. Let me hit G and grab my camera again, and I'm going to pin this again. And maybe what we're going to do, let me go and edit the asset here. I just want to see what I've got this light set to. It is movable, okay. So let's see what kind of lighting this gives us here. I'm going to just shift this to a not so important place in the map. I'll shove it over here and drop it down until it's on the table. Yeah, a book might not be bad. I actually, the jerry cans here actually looked like books to me when I saw them on the table. And so I had thought of doing that. I'm going to see if I can find anything inside of the mega scans that I can use as a close-up object. Let's go bounce into the bridge and jump into the 3D assets. There was actually an update to the bridge today. I think I got the update. I got a notification, and they added a ton of stuff. This seems to be one of those dealies that they are adding things like almost every day to this. So there are no books in here, which is not at all surprising. I'm going to go into other and see what we have here. Oh yeah, there's the ram's bones. What the shit is that? There's just such a weird collection of things in here. An old saddle. Oh, that'd be good for the basement. Throw something like that in. See, one of the reasons I'd like to use a photo scanned object for the foreground is that it's going to be fairly close to the camera, and what that'll mean is that it'll be closer in view than anything else, and so it is definitely one of those things that would be worth having a higher res element there. Yeah, I've thought about using this statue too. That might not be a bad idea. It's definitely one of those things that, like, in the right lighting condition, having something like the female bust would be creepy AF. I also don't necessarily want it to take up a lot of real estate either. I mean, it's going to be in the foreground. It's going to be really close to the camera. And so I don't know that it needs to be anything overly intricate. Go back to 3D assets here and see what else. I am definitely leaning. Yeah, no, totally. I'm definitely leaning towards the statue. That is definitely it is definitely along the lines of what it is that I'm doing. Ooh, coral. I gotta wonder how it is that these folks that put this stuff together, how it is that they decide what they're going to scan and what they're not going to scan. If you guys didn't know this, I don't know that they were mega scans specifically, but when you see Battlefront, the Star Wars shooter, and you see Tatooine, it's all scan data like this in that game. That game is like 90% scan data, which is why it looks as good as it does. They actually went on location to several places where Star Wars was filmed and they were able to scan, a bunch of that data, those environments, and that's why it looks the way that it does. Really, really, really nice looking stuff. These are cool too. They've made some modular chunks of old houses too that look pretty good. Again, I don't know how they're capable of doing this stuff without the metallic maps. Like, everything just looks flat. Yeah, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and that's not the newest one, right? There's one more after that. But yeah, everything's going that route. Burnt firewood, baseball bat, a different baseball bat. An old wooden figurine, a cricket ball. Baseball bats, but a cricket ball. I don't get that. There's the chain. This is the one that I got that was broken. There's no canteen. That's cool. There's such a weird, eclectic collection of things. Oh, there's an old wooden table. That'll do nice for the basement, too. There's so many... oh, that's an old candle. Shadow. That's it. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Getting into the food section. Oh, that's nice. Oh, I really like that one. These little wooden chests, those are pretty cool. It's a metal container pack. Not a cigar. That is totally a cigar. Love it. Some dude that was just like, hey, scan my stogie. These are nice too, these big chunks of wood. I mean, it is really, really nice the way that they've got this stuff set up. It would just be a lot nicer if they actually spent the time to retopologize some of it so that it was more useful. These bottles are cool too. Because, yeah, the biggest... Are these all water damaged? Oh, no, those are bricks. I thought they were cardboard boxes that were water damaged. The biggest problem that I have with this stuff is that it's just useless in terms of topology. You could never make a game with this stuff. It's lovely. It is. It's absolutely gorgeous. But most of it is so high poly that unless you're making... just a cinematic or doing arch previs, there's no point in any of this stuff. There's some old wooden stakes. Yeah. Man, there is just a ton of stuff in here. A Danish. I'll go use a Danish. We'll make a Danish full screen. A tombstone. Yeah, Roman gravestone. There's the bones. The bones are nice. There's just so much stuff here. And yet it's all kind of the same stuff too. Like, there's very, very Roman things and there's very, very Japanese things, and there isn't a lot of well, I mean, it does and it doesn't. Yash, like they're definitely saying like you can just grab all this stuff, and it's one of the reasons Epic did this is that Epic is partnered with Quixel now, and so they're showing that you can just bring that content in, but like your game will still run better regardless as to what Unreal is capable of doing. You'll still be able to get more in if you're smart about it. The more you spend, the more time you spend optimizing, the better your game will run. And that means like, sure, you can bring a tree in that is, 1,000 let's say 1,000,000 polys. You can bring a tree into the Unreal 5 that is 1,000,000 polys, and it'll run just fine. Or you can, make a 10,000 poly tree, which, again, is just optimized version of scan data. And then you can bring in, 100 trees. And, that makes forests more dense and things like that. The other thing is that it's, this scan data, most of the textures are generated for them by the scan itself. But if you're creating assets yourself, you can't unwrap anything that high poly. Like, none of the UV editors can get that high. ZBrush, which has got one of the best ones that I know of, it caps out around 50,000 vertices to 75,000 vertices, somewhere in that range. And that's, like, it'll unwrap like that, but you're still waiting. Whereas if you do it in Max or Maya, like, you don't get anywhere near that amount of polygons. And if you do try and unwrap something like that, like, the software just hangs. And so, it's neat to see that that's there, but, I don't think you're going to see people just dumping in raw stuff into their thing. Cement rubble and brick rubble. I might bring some rubble in at some point. My floor is a little too clean, and I've been thinking of putting some stuff like that in. I gotta find something that fits, though, that doesn't look like it's outdoors. I love this, that they've got hamburger wrappers. They scanned like an old Crush hamburger wrapper, and cigarette packs, and like there's black cigarette packs, and there's these cigarette, like, what the hell, man? I mean, it's neat that it's there, but I don't know, the thought process, it must have been going through someone's head to be like, hey, there's a pack of smokes. Let's go scan it. There's a bunch of fungi. Some more fungi. Some bark. Little bits of trees and stuff. Rock and stone and moss and twigs. Is that just sand? Volcanic ground. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to come across anything I think as good as the statue. So I think I'm going to go back. Let's go into antique. That's where all the statues were. I know I just got to pick one. So there's two levels of there's two levels of how messed up is that. The first is the disembodied head, which, there's a level of disturbing to that. But there's also like the torso, which has no arms or no legs. I think this is what I'm going to do, though. Yeah, I'm going to download this. Let me go check my download settings and make sure. This thing's 14th. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm going to download that. And then we're going to go shove that into the engine. Okay, give me a second. While this is uploading, I'm going to go get some water. All right. I'm back. It occurred to me while I was filling up my water bottle at the sink that I'm an idiot. And I should be using this time to be drinking something better than water. I should have a nice big old glass of scotch on the go. A downside with that is that no smoothing groups on this one, eh? The downside with that yeah, that's okay. Is that my game development skills will just be getting worse. Oh. Now, if only it actually was set to stand like that. It's framed so well. Even where I've got the lighting. But we're going to see if we can't creepy it up by trying to lay it down a little bit. The problem is that this thing is like, it's really, really round. And if I think it were to be a physics object, it would end up lying down something like this. And not necessarily look the way that you would want it to look. I do kind of like it in the foreground. I don't like that it's broken, though. Let me see what it's going to take to get it to sit flat. Oh, that's pretty flat like that. Okay, let's switch this back over to world now. And I think I could convincingly... It's just a matter of getting the angle correct. And framing it in a way that looks good. I want to see what that looks like with the UI in there too. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Unpin. Play. I don't know. I think it's too much. Thoughts? Anyone? I'm gonna pin my camera again. I think it's just too much. I think it's too detailed to be in the foreground. I'm gonna keep it and use it, but I don't think it's what I was looking for. I'm gonna go put it in this box. So now this is a Indiana Jones style little treasure box here that's got some statue's head in it. There we go. Okay. So that was an idea. Again, a little too busy for what I'm doing. So it is worth noting that I can put a something there, but I do got to be cautious with what it is. The foo dogs. Oh, that's not a foo dog. That is a Komenu. Komenu statue? Looks like a foo dog. Yeah, I don't even know that I would do one of those. Go to the collections. See, I think I've looked at all of the wear and tear. Why is there a camera in there? Oh, this is just the... it's just those things. Some of these things are pretty nice. But it's definitely the assets that I'm interested in for what I'm doing. And I don't really see anything that's jumping at me. What else we've got in our containers here? Ooh, that's nice too. That wooden crate, that is quite nice. It's quite nice, that is. Quite nice it is. Uh-huh. Yeah, and also, it doesn't make a lot of sense to just have a disembodied statue head. Okay, we're going to scrap this. And, I think I'm going to try something a little bit different. Let me go back and see if I have in my assets. Let me see if Jax is here. Let me go and try and find an old asset that I worked on that might kind of fit in that area. And it looks like Jax is no longer with us. Unfortunate. Oh. Did I? I did. Yeah, it's getting there. So this is the main menu, Connie, what you're looking at here. Let me turn this off and show you. So I've got an intro screen here now that is going to ask people to fill in their names, like so, and also their email addresses at the school. And once they've successfully filled in those two criteria, the play button will appear. That when I click the play button... Oh, I've broken the play button again. Oh, there we go. No, there we go. So once you click the play button, you will spawn somewhere random in the basement, and then you're free to go and explore. And so, yeah, I've made some pretty drastic changes to things in the last little while, but it is getting there. It is getting to the point that it's starting to get filled in. I want to get more work on the basement done for sure, but right now I'm just trying to find some kind of an asset here to put in the foreground of my menu. So when you're in, this is what the menu screen is going to look like here, and I've got a barrel that I've placed, fairly close to the camera in the foreground. So if I put something on the barrel here, it's going to remain in focus, and that is what's going to end up being what is most visible in the scene. You know what? I should maybe put my anatomical sculpt here. Make it look like it's made out of clay. Maybe just for a character class. That might be the way to go. Let me try this. I think this is the winner. I think this is what I'm going to do. So let me go and load up projects. Go down to my bases. Do I want to use the male base or the female base? I think I'm on female. And sculpting. Okay. So I've got this anatomical base that I've sculpted. Perspective is on. And I think what I might do is just put her out there. Okay, so the context of what the scene is for. This is a game that I'm going to make my students play in the first week of my character class come September. I'm going to be assigning characters that the students need to work on for the 2 semesters that I have them. And typically I'll do, in the past I've done like, soldiers, and we did superheroes from Injustice 2. We did Overwatch characters, and this go round we're going to be doing creatures and monsters. And so what I'm doing is setting up this basement scene and making it just completely littered with these totems that are pertaining to way more than the roulette wheel. The roulette wheel was the first one of these things that I made, and then the Overwatch one I stepped it up a notch in order to make the Overwatch, and I'm stepping this one up even further. And it's all like, it's an evolution. The roulette wheel I made in a weekend, and it was just kind of like one of these little fun one-off things of like, oh, this will be kind of fun to play this in class. But that went over so incredibly well when I did that I wanted to do it again. And students were so impressed by the roulette wheel, but I wasn't. I mean, it was neat what it was, but it wasn't anything really to be impressed by. There was like a weekend went into it. And so when I did the Overwatch one, I put a little bit more time into it and made it a little bit more game-like. It had a UI and everything. But it still had its own flaws in that there were parts of it that just didn't work. And so, yeah. So, yes and no. There are totems, but I'm not telling the students. I'm not giving them any instruction. And so the way this will work, let me give you an example here. So what happens is they hit play, and this will come up. They're going to be asked to enter their email address and their name. Can't even spell my own freaking name. Turner, and then I would be Topher, George Brown, or something like that. And once they've successfully entered those 2 categories, then the play button appears. And once the play button appears and you click on it, they're going to spawn somewhere random in the basement. And the idea is that they now don't know what they're supposed to do. Okay, so there's no instruction, there's no guidelines, there's no rules. It's just feel your way around. And so the idea is that hopefully they're going to kind of wander around for a little bit, trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing. And if they look hard enough, they're going to find one of 50 different totems that I've hidden throughout the room. And those totems, each one of them relates to a different creature or monster. And the way it works is that once they find one of these things, so for instance, over here is the clove of garlic. You can see I can highlight it here if I get the angle right. There we go. And if I click on this, a clove of garlic shows up. And it says you recognize the smell of this guy as soon as you pick it up. It smells like your grandmother's cooking. Actually, it smells like your grandmother, too. I don't think anyone will be eating this, as it's hard as a rock. And so they're then presented with 2 options. They can either take the item or put the item back. Now, if they choose to take the item, this will actually end the game. It spits them out. And what that'll do is it'll actually commit to them doing that creature. So in this case, the garlic would have made them a werewolf, or rather a vampire. And so depending on which totem they find, and they're all kind of strewn about everywhere. You can see there's a little coin over here. They all light up green when you get the camera to hit them the right way. And so whenever you find one of these things, each one relates to a different totem. And so they're not going to know that when they pick one, that's it. There's no description of what happens, and so it means that they're going to commit to one of these things without being ready for it, or whatnot. And then they do have the option of putting it back and going to find something else. But whatever it is that they come across and they click on, that is going to then solidify what creature they're doing for the year. And so yeah, it's quite a bit more involved than the roulette was. And it'll be interesting to see the way that it works. Now, one of the reasons that I've gone a little bit harder on this one was that the last two that I did, both the roulette and the Overwatch one, man, it sucked. I had to write down what everybody got, constantly jotting somebody's name down and then the character that they got for the semester. And so there will be absolutely positively duplicates. I'm expecting there to be duplicates, because some of the totems are more in your face and easier to find, and they're, the little coin is this tiny little thing. I'm not expecting anybody to find the coin. But if by any chance any student spends a long time looking through the things, then they might actually find some of the harder to find ones. But yes, there are going to be definitely some easier to find, like the balloon practically glows in the dark. And so, yeah, more than one student will get more than one asset. But that's okay, because they have to design these creatures. And so, just because you got a killer clown and I got a killer clown doesn't mean that we're both going to design the same type of killer clown. In fact, what you find scary about a clown might be completely different. You might go very supernatural with it, kind of like it. And I might go very real world with it, like John Wayne Gacy. And, that's two very different takes on the same kind of monster. And so, yeah, I'm expecting there to be duplicates. It's one of those things that it's going to be unavoidable. And so, if I was doing this in the classroom with the students, I could set it up so that they were all in a larger environment together, where we were playing this as a multiplayer game. However, we're going to be doing learning remotely in September, and so I'm going to have to do this in a non-multiplayer format in order to get it to work. And so, anyway, that's the goal. So I'm going to use this, I think. Let me go. I've got her selected. Let me go and drop all the way down. That's not my lowest, I think. I think I can go one more down from there. Yeah. What am I at? 18. So this one's like 45. 72. Yeah, that's going to be too high. Okay. I'm going to do this one. ZBrush, plugins, UV master, and unwrap her. I don't really care much what the UVs look like. Okay, and then let's go, now that she's unwrapped, let's go and export her. Now, before I do that, okay, let's do this in a way that friggin' makes sense. Well, I'm going to need some eyeballs. So I'll reduce her eyes down and then merge them down here as well. Merge down. Yeah. Cannot be undone. That's okay. That's what I want. I'm going to re-unwrap her again, because I need the eyes to be a part of this. Okay, so I'm going to export this. And let's go project, cabin in the woods, FBX. I'm going to make this my hero prop. And OBJ's find, we'll call this sculpt. And then, oh, I done broke my high poly, didn't I? I gotta load her back up. This one, ZBrush, this one, there we go. And this, how many subdivisions do you have? 6. Let's go to 3. Delete higher. Subtool, this, and merge down. Yes. And then we're going to go to Geo. And I still have my 3. And export this as the high poly projects, cabin in the woods. Oh, this is going to go in the OBJ folder. And this is hero prop. So I'm going to try and do the world's fastest version of this. Yeah, we'll close this without saving anything so I don't break my base model. And let's go into Painter. And I don't need to do that. File new. Let's make this, it's a hero prop, so I'm going to go 4K. Select Project Cabin in the Woods. Oh, I was in Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods. Fibix hero prop and her. Oh, that's not going to work. We need to go into Max first. I can delete that in Max. Actually, let's reset this. Yes, save it. Yes, I really want to reset. So I need to bring in my hero prop because she doesn't have smoothing groups coming out of ZBrush. And so we shall fix that. Looks awfully smoothing group to me. Let's double check. All one. Yeah. Okay. Export selected. And this is going to be hero prop. I'll use the FBX here. Okay. So file new. Select the mesh. Cabin in the Woods. FBX. Hero prop. Sculpt FBX. Go up to 4K and say OK. And then there's a big FOV in here. Let's go delete that layer. And then we're going to go bake. I'm going to bake at 4K. Dilation. High poly. I was in the right place. OBJ, hero prop. Hero prop? Did I call it hero prop? I call it hero prop. Okay. Nope. And then we're going to go to, that doesn't matter. Ambient occlusion, crank it. Thickness, crank it. And 8 times. Okay, you bake. You bake. And while that's baking, I'll figure out what the hell I'm going to do. In terms of making this look like a sculpture. Okay, so here's a smart material that'll do the job. It's called clay pot. Get this out of here. So close this. And my computer is lagging as I'm trying to do this while I'm baking. Okay, close that. I'm sorry. You go on, do what you were doing. I apologize. Oh, I can see my brush strokes. Mental note, smooth your high poly more. It's downright ugly. Downright ugly. Come on. You're almost there. You can do it. You can see where my UV seams are. Going right up the front of her leg. It's not ideal. But it is fast. And sometimes fast trumps everything else. Yeah, I did. I don't have to split them up on my new computer. It's fast enough, just the way it is, that I don't have to split them. I split them on the old one on the laptop, but that is not something I need to do here. So I just brought the clay material in here as a smart material, which I'm hoping shows up here if I go click on this. And it was called clay pot. There it is. There. Yeah, it's a beast. Not so bad. Where was her UV seams? Oh, looks like they're using triplanar projection on this already. You know what? I'm not loving it. I mean, it's clay, but it doesn't read the way that I want it to. I think I could probably do something better if there isn't already. What the hell is that? Creature teeth. There's some new smart materials in here I never seen before. Yeah, Bray, I built this thing to be a beast, right? And since I spend my time here doing this stuff, you know, it makes a lot of sense that I would want to make sure I'm not slowed down by anything. And so, yeah, I built this thing to be a beast, and so far it's kicking names and taking ass. It's doing a pretty good job of that. Yes, I realize I said that backwards. So I realized that maybe going marble might be a way to go. If these marbles didn't look so bad. I'm not really digging any of the smart material stuff that's here. And I may end up... I may actually end up just going my own way. Oh, that almost looks like... That almost looks like sculpture marks. What we got in this folder here? Grinded finish. Is that using the UV seams? It is. So that would be ideal if I could get away from that. Triplanar. I just saw you. There you are. Ooh. What now? There's not a lot of difference between them, Mike. Once you start looking at the components, you know, there's a lot of similarities between them. Definitely go Ryzen. When you start balancing cost versus power, I gotta tell you, I am mostly impressed with this Ryzen. That's what I've got. That's what I've got here in my machine, and it is pretty killer. I'm digging it. When you go that route, you also you want to double check. You know, I not only went Ryzen with my CPU, but I got RAM that is tuned to go with the AMD, and you know, a lot of what I built was all based around that CPU. The one that I've got is faster than the i9, and so yeah. The graphics card's the one place where I couldn't do it. I couldn't go AMD. I love me my Nvidia, man. I have had a lot of had a lot of really good Nvidia cards, and they aren't anything I'd be willing to give up anytime soon. And so my PC ended up being shit, son. I can tell you. So I used PC Part Picker when I built it. PC Part Picker, for the uninitiated, is a website where you can go and like do a fantasy build of machines. I'm not a robot. Robot. You can go and do these fantasy builds and actually like build a, you know, what you want as well. Make sure you remember that you're in Canada. You don't want to do America. But yeah, so if I go in here, saved part list, here's my saved part list. And so, a couple of things are missing from here. Oh no, that actually looks like most of it. So there's my case. That's my power supply. Dual RTX TIs. 970 Evo 2 terabyte. Yeah, that's my NVMe. Yeah, so this is almost everything. I think I ended up going one drive, instead of the 16 terabyte, I ended up going 12 terabyte on my data drive. And then, and I also didn't go Corsair. I ended up going a different brand for my RAM, getting something that was tuned for the Ryzen. So I've got a Ryzen 9 39X, 12 core, 24 thread CPU. So it's pretty badass. But yeah, I'm looking at about $7,000 all in. And so, yeah, it's a little ass kicker, this machine, that's for sure. So, let's see what I can hear here. Triplanar. I'm trying to just remove some of the UV seams that are present, if I can, to make this look a little bit more statue-like. Edge, that's just a paint job. This thing, triplanar is on. That's the idea, right? Is to get something that'll last. So. I had such a hard time with my. I had such a hard time with my laptop. I mean, I love that laptop. My laptop was everything to me. But at the same time, man, it fucking sucked. And it did because I couldn't upgrade it, right? There was nothing I could do to it. It was locked in. It was whatever I bought, that was what that computer was going to be till the day that it died. And that was something that I wasn't able to deal with. That laptop was more expensive than this desktop, and this desktop will do me longer because, you know, if the video card gets old, then I'll pop it out and buy a new one, you know. I need more RAM. I'll go buy myself some more RAM and plug it in. And so it was a killer machine for what it was. And like, it still runs, you know, it's it's full of drywall dust and sitting behind me on the floor right now, but it still runs. I'm going to blow it out and clean it up. I'm going to format it, and it's going to become my wife's computer. Actually, I think right now it's going to become my son's computer. But, you know, dollar for dollar, that machine was just not worth what I spent on it in terms of the, let's see, Grunge Map 14. I'm going to take that off. Kill the curvature. Just in terms of what I was doing with it, it just wasn't worth it. And so, yeah, I'm happy to go desktop for now. And we'll see how long this sucker lasts. Alright, I'm going to add a generator, and we're going to look for, I think that was Grunge 14. 014? Grunge Map 14. I'm just editing the way that this thing was put together, so that I have a little bit more control over it. You, sir, are triplanar. How are you telling me I can't triplanar that filter? Okay, fine. Let's do this. Kill that. Go into the edges. My dad told you about that laptop. I used to brag about that laptop to my dad. My dad's deep into computers too. He does a lot of web-based stuff and so on. And yeah, I used to. He's got a Mac, and I always kind of laugh in his face about it. But yes, yeah, I was always going on about that computer to my dad. Whenever I buy new hardware, he's the first person I go brag to. And I think part of that is that we were always kind of one-upping each other as we were, going back to when I was a teenager, buying computers, and he'd buy a computer and stuff. Yeah, my dad's the bomb. Let's see. I want to add some noise to this, and I'm not sure why. Is this a paint layer or fill layer? This is a fill layer, and it's triplanar. And it's got a material source. That's why. I'm going to delete that. And let's add a new fill layer. And go grab a nice rich brune. That's awfully green. Okay, something like that. Yeah, that's going back some time too. Yeah, I remember that. I remember my dad and I went to a oh god, it must have been a pawn shop or something. And they had a copy of, this is going to date me now. NHL 98. I think it was NHL 98 for PC. I'm going to look up the cover here to see if that was the... Yeah, it was NHL 98 for PC. And one of the features of the game was that you could bring an image in, and it would like paste your face on one of the players, which like absolutely horrible. You look at it now, it looks absolutely terrible. But my dad and I found this game. We found this in a pawn shop. We were both totally excited. It was like, oh my god, it's NHL. We're gonna go play some NHL. It'll be awesome. We'll put our faces on. And I remember thinking too, like, oh, this is gonna be incredibly funny. We can take like Darth Maul, who at the time was really big, and we'll be able to put like Darth Maul inside of this game. And we were both kind of howling at it. But the game, the computer that we had at the time, we actually needed, to buy a, we had to buy a new hard drive just to install the game. The computer we have didn't have a big enough hard drive to install a single game onto it. And that was one of the key indicators, like, oh, okay, we might be time to upgrade. Oh god, that's going back though. That's funny. Okay, this, and then I'm gonna add a fill to this. All this nostalgia is making me work slower. Okay, I'm looking for Grunge 014. Throw this guy on. And this is going to be triplanar. There we go. Now you're doing what I want you to do. Okay, so now I'm going to play around with this layer a little bit here. Let's go back to the default layer. And I'm going to turn the color down a little bit. I don't want it to be that overwhelming. I'm going to go into the color. And I might tone the color back a little bit. and bring the opacity up a little bit more. That's good. Turn the shadowing back on. And turn all this other stuff back on. Oh, I don't know that I want the bumps. Yeah, I think I'm good without the bumps. Okay, so now it's really just a matter of picking and choosing the color that I want for my clay. Now, this is also going to get multiplied against the color of the environment, which is really, really warm at the moment. And so it may actually be in my best interest to actually just grayscaler. Just gray it out and make like proper gray looking clay in this kind of area here. And just let the color bleed onto her from the environment. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to call that done enough. Again, this is just going to be standing there in the area, so I don't really need to do too much about this. So let's go to Export Textures and set our configuration and our project. So we're going to go up to Project, down to Cabin in the Woods, FBX Hero Prop, and that's not what I want. Textures, new folder, Hero Prop. So let's do that. In here, select that folder. I'm going to go in here and drop down to Unreal 4 Packed. And let's do that. Spit those out. Back in the world of Unreal. I'm going to go into my meshes here. And I don't need a folder for her here. Cabin in the Woods, FBX, Hero Prop, and Hero Sculpt. That's this one. I don't need collision on this. Come on, meshes. That should be fine. Now, this is like a 5'6" woman, so obviously she's going to be a little big if I put her on here. But again, the goal is just going to be to get this to fill up the world here. So I'm just going to turn on my preview there for this and figure out how big I need her to be so that she fills the area nicely. So there, I think something like that's going to look pretty good. Okay, textures and materials. This is where I'll create my folder, which I'll call Hero Prop. And we'll go in here. I didn't even look at how high poly she was. Let's go and do some texture renaming in my projects folder, down to Cabin in the Woods, textures, and Hero Prop. And let's go rename these. So this is Sculpt _ BC for base color. Sculpt ULPT _ N for normal. And that's this one. Sculpt _ ARM. Okay, so those guys are good to go. In they come. These are also, I think, the largest textures I've got in here so far. That looks like a flayed person. I want my sRGB off. Okay, so let's go generate a new material. MA _ sculpt. And I'll just dock this and bring my textures in, like so. We'll split these up. So this is ambient occlusion, rough und metal, like so. We'll grab the normal map and plug it in here, and then this is the base color. So she should be good to go there. Plug that away. And then I want to go find her material here. Go find her mesh again. Pop that open. Dock it. And then go to my Hero Prop again. Grab that material and assign it. I'm a big fan of assigning the textures and the materials in the static mesh browser, and not on the one in the world. It makes a big difference because any further instances of this thing that I drag into the world, they will have the correct material on them. I don't have to worry about that getting retextured or anything like that. So let's undock this and let's switch over to lighting or lit view. Let's switch over to game view. She might be a little shiny. I might have to tweak the shine ever so slightly. Now let's see what this does. And then, other than fixing my play button, which is yet again broken, I think I'm good to go. So where's my begin? And 450, 200, and that's on normal. Hover 450, 200. See order. This should be 1. And this should be 0. Yes. Okay. So that guy's good to go. Okay. We're definitely starting to bog down a little bit here when it comes to the lighting. Shoot, Michael. What's your question? What have you got? Is this one of them there, go check your email questions? It doesn't look like it's a check your email question. Let's say you have an asset with some glass parts. How would you make the texture in UE4 from Unreal Engine using the packed ARM? So, glass is a little complex. Typically, if I'm making any kind of an asset that has any kind of transparency to it, I try to make that transparency its own material. So, in doing all of those vehicles that I was doing for Mask, all of the glass elements from every single part of the car are all unwrapped together into one material ID. And that means that I'm able to keep them all separate. Transparency is one of the most expensive things to render when it comes to performance in your game. And that's a really big thing that you got to kind of keep an eye on is transparency and how bad you go with it. So, for instance, if I go into, let me go back into my world here. Let's save all now that she's in there. Ooh, and apparently I did a ton of stuff. But if I go into my maps here and I load up Cabin in the Woods, and I do this, so we're in gameplay mode here. And I'm just going to place the camera over here. And we're going to go change the rendering mode from lit. I'm going to go change this to optimization modes. And we're going to look at shader complexity. That's not what I wanted. Shader complexity. So what this is showing you is, if you look at the graph at the bottom here, with pixel shader up at the top and vertex shader down at the bottom. And this shows us how expensive all of the shaders that I've put together are. With green being good, meaning that the shaders are compiling really quickly, and there's not too much complex. You can see most of my world at the moment is just chock full of green, which is really, really nice. The exceptions are where these guys are, these little triangles here. And in fact, I can get them to render even worse if I go and put a bunch of them on top of each other. You can see that red that I'm in now, I'm definitely in the bad. And extremely bad, which is way over here, is white. And I could probably, maybe over in this end, I can make something turn white. No, probably not. I don't think I have enough of this stuff here to turn white. But essentially, all of these triangles here where you're seeing that red, what that is my spider webs, my cobwebs. And that's why they're bad, is that they're just chock full of transparency. And that transparency is what's getting really, really expensive. So when I unwrap things, I try to make sure that the transparency is in its own shader, its own material, so that I'm not rendering that complexity on a huge thing where I'm just transparencying out or alphaing out a little tiny bit of the mesh. Now, when it comes to Substance Painter, you can, in your mesh here, if you go into your material setup in here, I can add a channel, which is going to be called opacity. But what you're going to find is that this opacity layer, this opacity material, isn't going to quite do what you expect it to do. If I do a fill layer here, and we fill the opacity layer here, right now it's white, and if I set it to black, she's not transparent. You know, white, black, white, black. And that's because it doesn't really do transparency here. So what I will do when I'm doing any kind of Substance Painter stuff is I just don't bother with that transparency node. There's no point in it. And what I'll do is when I'm doing that material, I just treat it as opaque. So I'll do stuff like just using my base color node as my transparency. And so there's no real point for that. Now you want to be careful with that terminology, alpha testing. Alpha testing and alpha sorting are terms that are used a lot when you're dealing with transparent textures. Testing and sorting has to do with how the transparency is rendered on top of other transparency. And I'll show you what this means. If I could type alpha testing. And let's do versus alpha sorting. Boop. And do a space. So here is alpha testing, which you can see is going to be 1-bit alpha, meaning only black or only white in your alpha channel. And then alpha sorting has to do with when you start getting different layers of alpha on top of each other. So yeah, the terminology is really, really important. You got to really watch with that. It really comes down to you can't mask two shaders via masks. Not entirely. You can mask two shaders via masks. Unreal allows you to do this a lot with complex materials. If I go into my materials here, this one's called Test Mat. I don't know what I was doing in here. But anyway, if you were to go in and don't think I'm actually using this thing for anything. I think it was just my checkered pattern that I used in the first video. But if we go into this base material here, and I tell it to use material attributes, you can see that my output is now just a single node. And then what you can do is you can start creating material functions. Now I've got no, I don't have any functions in here. Let me go create a new material function, which I'll call test function. So this material function is going to be that's not what I wanted. I called it test function and I didn't make it a function. I made it a material. So if I go into materials and textures, material function, here we go, test function. So in this guy, we have one output. And what I can do is I can, not hair attributes, I can make attributes. And you'll notice if I use this and plug it into the output, I now have all of my regular material things. So let's say I wanted to make this chrome, right? So we give a 1 and plug it into metallic, and then we get roughness, and we put this in here. And let's also put this into the base color. And there, we got chrome. So now I can say, yay, that's chrome. And then we'll go and do another material function here. Let me just do a quick one. So another material texture function. And then I'll show you that break. Give me a second. Test F2, and maybe I'll make this one look like rubber. So make attributes, and I'll plug this in here. And in same deal, actually, we'll call this rubber done. And so then what you would do when you want to start blending multiple materials together, you can start blending a ton of these things together. So if I create a function, material function call, and there's test function 2, and I make another one of these, and this is going to be test function. There's my chrome. All I got to do now is just do material layer blending. So if I do a, there it is there. So here are the blend modes that you can use between your layers. And you can do all really kinds of stuff. I'll just do the simple one. So we can blend chrome with rubber, and the alpha that separates them, we'll just grab this black and white image here, and we'll use I think it's the green channel. I forget. One of them is, yeah, there we go. So that's kind of cow pattern, but you can see I've got rubber and chrome now separated on this material based by that image. And when you want to blend tons and tons and tons of materials together, you just keep adding this. You add another one. And this time, instead of blending this guy in, we blend the blend in. And then we go here. And that'll blend it again. So if I use a different alpha this time, we'll get a different image here. And it's actually going to combine them in a different way. And so I can kind of just keep combining in that way. So you can actually blend almost an unlimited number of materials together, provided you make the material functions and that you set your material up to be a material attribute material. And so it'll give you a different style of blending, but it does allow you to do that. And so we'll close that without saving. I'll grab my functions and the test material, which we don't need. Yes, that's fine. Now, you noticed in UE4 that when you blend material to translucent, right? Okay, so when you are in a material, I'm going to make another material. Actually, here, let's just go into the cap. None of my assets have translucency yet, but I'll show you this. So when you set your material to be translucent, you're right. You lose metallic, roughness, specular, anisotropy, any of the other nodes that you're going to be using here. And all you got to do is just go down to your translucent section and change it from volumetric non-directional to surface translucency volume. And when you do that, your nodes come back. That is, again, another level of expense that you have. It does make your material a little bit more expensive. So in the grand scheme of things, again, when you go look at this in terms of optimization and you look at the shader complexity, you know, just making something translucent like I did here with these things, you know, it gets them into the, like, practically bad. They're kind of in here. If I were to turn on the metallic and the roughness, it'll jump from there over into the practically bad section. And in fact, if you start doing a lot more with it as well, you'll get into the extremely bad. Now, extremely bad doesn't mean don't do it. It means try not to do it, and if you have to do it, try to do it only in one or two places. You know, it's a balancing act, and again, you know, how expensive things get when you're rendering stuff in engine. It's got a lot to do with the performance of your game, right? And so that's why after last week, you know, every 4 seconds my game was hitching and I couldn't figure out what it was. Like, the first thing that I did is that I went over into here and stat, advanced, and I went in and started looking at my draw calls and stuff like that, right? I can check out my collision in here. We can go to, where are you? GPU. And you can see where everything is being hit on your GPU in terms of how expensive things are and how cheap things are. And as I move around the world, all these values are going to change, right? If I go back in here and we turn this guy off now, advance, turn the GPU off, and we go to, let's see, game. Here I can now see my tick, how long my tick takes. I can see that post-tick component update. That's my post-process volume. There are 11 counts of that, which, you know, could be bad, could be good. But I can see, like, everything else is, like, really, 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 really small on the draw calls. And so that's pretty good. And even as I fly around the world here, nothing really seems to get that bad. I'm not getting any reds or oranges or anything in here. And so, you know, watching this stuff as you go will definitely make sure that you're, you know, paying attention to what you're doing. You know, you can check on your memory to see how much memory you're using, you know, in terms of texture uses and polygon usage and that kind of thing. You know, it's a really, really useful trick to keep an eye on what you're doing. Make sure you don't blow your performance out of the way. So anyway, that's why I was looking at mine, right? Because I had screwed up something. At least I thought I had. In the end, it wasn't me. In the end, it was actually the engine that had screwed stuff up. So here's where I am with my stuff. You know, I can look around the world here. If I go, let's put the mesh this back in the corner here, and I look at the world. So I'm at about 1.6, 1.7 million triangles in my world. A skeletal mesh, I've got 257,000 triangles. That's literally just the 2 tarps. And then we've got skeletal vertices and GPU skin, 129,000. That's the physics stuff on those. Skeletal mesh draw calls, 6. So that's just those 2 meshes. I'm getting 6 draw calls just from those. So I do want to be careful with that. Here's my frame tick. This is when things are happening on tick. So I've got a little bit of stuff going on. This can actually get really, really long. I'm still under 10 milliseconds with my draw calls, so that's not bad at all. And then my deferred tick and all of that stuff. The deferred tick is when I was getting my online stuff. That was the networking thing that was going on. But anyway, this stuff here you want to pay attention to when you're building stuff, because it is definitely what will make or break your game in terms of performance. And this is especially deadly too, Bray. You're talking about building yourself a new computer, right? So that's kind of one of the catches about working on a system like this. You know, my computer is absolutely phenomenal. However, none of my students are going to be playing this on my computer. You know, this is going to be a game that I give to each and every one of them, and I don't know what they have computer-wise. In fact, I know a couple of them are going to have, you know, loaners from the school, and so I need to make this, you know, run on just about everything. Which is why, you know, I don't have ray tracing turned on, even though my computer can ray trace, and you know, I'm capable of making this look way better by turning on the ray tracing. I'm not able to do that because I want to make sure that all of the students can use this thing, and so there's that little bit of a catch with doing that kind of stuff. Okay, so let me load my map back up, menu. And I want to see this. I want to see this run here. Aha! So she's too big. I totally forgot that I had text up here. So she's got to scale down. You know what I should do? Let's see where I need her head to be in relation to her body. About her collarbone. No. So I'm just going to actually use the yellow thing in the background here. If I can, there we go. So I'm just using the yellow line back here as a frame of reference for the scale. Get her to about there. There we go. So now she is scaled to work. Oh yeah, I got music in. Ian, welcome to the party, Ian. Welcome to the party, pal. This is a piece of music called I don't fucking remember. Broken Piano, I think it's called. And it was royalty free on YouTube. So if this video gets flagged, I'm gonna be pissed. But yeah, it was royalty free on YouTube, and so I grabbed it. It seemed to fit quite nicely. You can see that I've gone in tuned this. I've got please fill out the form to continue. I've got my little dust particles floating about the environment now. Candle flickering in the background. Name, me. Email address, me@George Brown. Enter. And I can click play. And it should boot me into the world. There we go. Okay, so there was some loading time there. So I'm definitely on the verge of needing either a loading screen or either a loading screen, or I'm going to need to stream this level in the background in order to get it loaded without a loading screen. Okay, so anyway, I fixed my walls so that they, as I mentioned, I've got a door up here now, so I can actually make a more final version of the stairs. I got a hole in the floor here, and I don't know how that happened. I don't know what I did that made a hole in the floor. But I'm going to have to investigate that. And I've blown out all the lighting on my stuff, and so I'm going to need to change the lighting in that world yet again. Yeah, I've got some cool things going on, and so I'm mostly pleased. Let me save all and jump back into the Cabin in the Woods map. Let's figure out what's going wrong with the floor, and delete her. And let's open up the structure and figure out why that hole's there. So the hole is beside the stairs. Ooh. And indeed, for whatever reason, I got a hole. I don't know how I did that. Okay, let's rotate about and go to my top view. So, for whatever reason, I must have changed. Oh. Nope, still doesn't make sense. Is one of the walls in the wrong place? Let's grab the walls and turn them transparent-like. Turn them all transparent-like. Am I baking the lights? No, I'm not baking the lighting. I'm baking the lighting, so I am hitting, yes, I am hitting, bake lighting, but all of the lighting, get rid of her, all of the lighting in the world is all, every light is, set to be movable. So they're all dynamic lights. And, that means that when I do my light bakes, I'm not bound to things like light maps. All the lights are all like real time. So there's no such thing as light map density or anything like that. I don't have to worry about really ugly blown out shadows in the ground and stuff like that. It's also reducing my my light baking time. When I did my bathroom as a demo for the diorama projects for my students a couple years back, that only had static lighting, and it took my laptop about 17 hours to bake the lighting from that, which, I mean, it was fine, but it could have been better. Okay, I think I'm going to move these lights So I'm gonna alter my lighting here again in terms of where the lights are gonna go. So we're gonna have one there, one there, one there. And the reason for this is that I'm not my totems are not being lit the way that I want them to be lit. And so I'm going to... How is that a thing? So there's a beam here where there's a light. And there's a beam here-ish where there's light. You know what I've gone and done? Let's go turn the billboard size back up. What? Really? Oh, this one. Try that again. Billboard size back to 1. That actually didn't change. 1. There we go. Okay. Shoot. Yeah, see, now I don't have a place to put that light bulb. Unless I move the fabric up here. No, there's a light there too. I have to move it here to this beam. Okay. So we move the fabric up so that it's on this beam. Oh, and this will work nicely. What is this? That's a jump scare. Let's move that. And I'll have to move my shelving here. Let's turn unlit on. Okay, so I can't have a shelf there now. So let's move that out of the way. Actually, I can have a shelf here, and I need to have a shelf here. I'm going to put the shelf here because players can't walk through the right side of the tarp. And this is nothing but a performance issue. So I'll put this guy here. We'll move the bench. I don't know where the bench is going to go. We'll move it there. And now this light and this light can move in front of the beam. So they're going to be hanging down from this part of the beam here. Okay, so 2 of the lights make sense. You, sir, and you, sir, are also going to need to move in front of the beam. I can't see my move. There's my move. In front of the beam. Could probably be better. Okay, and then over here, so I actually don't have a beam on that side. I've got one there. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do here. Let me go take a look at it from the top. You know what I should do? I mean, not now, because I'm knee-deep in this one already. But the next time I build something like this, I should probably try and get, like, proper, complete house plans. And I can actually put the lights where they're supposed to be lights. And that may give me a better result. Okay, I think I'm going to leave those where they are. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang them. Maybe I'll put them underneath the beam. Like so. So let's switch this over to lit. Game mode. So one of the things that I'm trying to be very careful of here is that when an item is picked up, the lighting on the item comes from the world. And so in order for people to be able to see what the thing is, I actually need there to be lighting. If there's not lighting, you won't be able to see the object. So that's kind of an issue. We go over here to this guy. And again, with that light up and to the left... Did you really? That's hilarious. About a kilometer away from my house is the office of the I guess the company that designed my house. And I've been tempted to go by there several times to get the blueprints for my home, because I always thought that would be fun to just make my house, you know, as one-to-one as I can get it. See, this guy doesn't look too bad with that stark lighting. But anyway, let's make sure this still works. Yes, and I can get the garlic again. See, now the garlic's well lit. That guy looks okay. Snarling. Snarl, snarl, snarf. There's this guy. I can pick him up from... Oh, hey, I'm on a step stool. Okay, I gotta be cognizant of that, because I don't want that to happen in the future. I have one too. Actually, when we were buying our house, not this one, but the one in Brampton before this one. Oh, son of a... There's another hole in the floor. What the hell did I do? Wait, did I shift the whole place? I think I shifted the whole thing over. It's not a bad idea. Well, and I showed you, I did my bathroom, the ensuite that we have here. So it looks like it's going to be easier for me to manipulate the floor than it is anything else. I want to make sure that there's only just 2 holes, and that this is not going to be an ongoing thing. So that looks like that's going to go all the way back and over. What? Why is it misaligned? Okay, let me make sure I haven't moved anything. You're at the origin. You're at the origin. No, this is just me being crappy. What the hell, man? So let's do this and isolate. Deselect this. And again, the floor is going to be the one that's going to be easier to fix. So one hole is right here. And one hole is right here. So yeah, I don't know how I managed to do that, but somewhere along the way, I moved this back, and it moved, yeah, see here too. These are not aligned. I wonder what did that. I'd like to know so that I, don't do it again. Though, who are we kidding? I'm going to do this the very next chance I get. And then these guys, these have to shift in that direction. Like so. Now, why is that all cockeyed? Get out of orthographic. Yeah, I've got a wall that's out of sync here. This. Something went wrong here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there are a few things. there are a few things wrong with this picture. That's got to go there, and I'm pretty sure that's shifted too. Okay, so it doesn't matter here. Okay. So that all looks like it lines up now. Yeah, I don't know what I did. So let's go and unwrap this again, because I've gone and manipulated the UVs, which means it's going to suck a bunch if I'm not careful. Tools, mapping, flatten mapping, go to town, and convert to editable poly, and then export it. Make sure its pivot point is still at the origin. Effect pivot only. Origin. And export selected. Okay, so this is not in here, but this is floor. We'll overwrite and re-import. So Ian, we got Amazon delivery today. The wife, when her school ended, brought home a projector from school. And I ordered a nice big projector canvas that we're going to put up in the backyard. Since we can't go watch fireworks like we normally do on Canada Day with the kids, we got a fire pit in the backyard, and we're going to have like a late night in the backyard watching movies up on the biggish screen. And so, yeah, this is like, it's 120 inches, so it's only marginally bigger than my TV. But still, it should be a lot of fun. We were having a big discussion today about what it is that we should be watching. Yeah, look at how broken that wall is. How did I not notice I did that? That wall is not planar. Okay, so that means I need to bring the walls in again, which were just called walls. Okay, you. There's the walls. Actually, while I'm here, no, we'll do this. Export selected. Walls. Okay. Yeah, we spent a good chunk of time today trying to figure out what movie we're going to watch in the backyard. There we go. We were showing the kids a bunch of trailers and stuff for films, and trying to find the right one, trying to find something that both kids will like, which is becoming more and more difficult. But also, just trying to find something that would be a fun backyard movie. I know I have a couch back here, but I'm going to make another one, damn it. The couch is one of the most optimized meshes there are. And I liked it better over here. I'm going to go put it back. Encino Man. Weasting the juice. I think I get thrown out of the adequate parent club if I show my kids a Pauly Shore movie. I think there's going to be a knock at the door or something if I put something with Pauly Shore in it. I have to turn in my badge. Okay, so I like that there. I ended up losing all of my under the stairs space that I had, which I'm not overly shook up about. That's Z fighting. What are you fighting? It's the stairs. Okay. No biggie. So when I make the stairs, I don't need that part. Let's make some stairs, shall we? Encino Man. Now, there's a movie I've not seen in... God, I don't even know how long it's been. Okay, so I've got an issue with my stairs here in that the distance to the top of the stairs actually puts it above the floor. But I think it's only about a centimeter or so, so I'm going to call it I don't care. It would probably be bad for gameplay, but meh. And I do a little bit of reference looking up here. Abandoned basement. So there's some really beautiful images here that showed up. when doing this before that I really been leaning on a lot. Hey, this kind of stuff here. I can go look at this. I don't know where this picture goes. This one. Can I just see the picture? Look at that. That is gorgeous. Look at all the shit hanging from the ceiling. This is just dirty. I think those are speakers. What am I looking at? I don't know what these boxes are. There's a lot of them in the ceiling. I don't know what they would be for. There's a drop ceiling, and many of the drop tiles have been soaked to the point that they've just broken through. All kinds of wicker furniture. I love this too. Like it's wrapped in cardboard, like it was trying to be protected, and it's just like water damage halfway up the cardboard. I love the just chunks of stuff on the ground. I don't know how much of this I'd be able to reproduce. It is absolutely gorgeous, though, but not. It's also not what I was looking for at the moment. It's actually stairs that I'm looking for, and it's because I want to kind of see how they are actually constructed. I just built a bunch of boxes and shoved them together. And I know that's not how you build stairs. Usually you have a sideboard, and then you get the rungs going up. But I thought it might be fun to even go, something like this, where there's no riser. There's just the sideboards and the actual steps. That's okay. I like that. I think that's what I'm going to do. So it's a sawtooth board that runs the length of the ladder or the stairs, with just a board placed on top. Yep. And that'll do it. Okay. So we're going to keep that over here as reference material. And we'll, oh, God damn you. So I have this, I don't know if I've mentioned this to you guys or not, but I have this plugin that I use on Chrome, which is unpinterested, and this, whenever I Google anything, this removes Pinterest from my search, because I am incredibly pissed off when I'm Googling for really good reference, and I find something and I'm like, oh, that's absolutely beautiful, and then I click on it and it goes to Pinterest and I don't get any information about the object, and it's just like I have Google. I have a fucking collection of images. I don't need a link to another collection of images. And so I hate Pinterest. I think I should have the ability of blocking that website from existence. Because I hate how like the first 9 entries are all going to be Pinterest. And so anyway, so I've got this little doohickey here that will go and turn off Pinterest for me if I don't want to see Pinterest things. However, it misses things. For instance, when I went and found this image of the stairs and then saw this one down here and I was like, ooh, look, more stairs. And then I went from this one to another one that was this one. I was like, oh, look, more stairs. And then I clicked on that picture. It brought me to Pinterest. And god damn it, I'm back at Pinterest. I hate you, Pinterest. Open image in a new tab, and that's all I wanted, was just the picture. I know, I have a lot of pent-up anger, but I hate you, Pinterest. I hate you. Okay, so the one other thing I need to do with this set of stairs is the top one needs to go further back. Let's see if we can find out exactly where. Move, that is the Y location. And then I'll grab the board here. This one. And let's grab these two. And I'll just paste them at that Y location. And that'll give me a little bit of a top rung. Like so. So now that that is put together enough, I'm going to detach it so that I can zoom in on it without the other one interfering. We'll isolate it. And I'm now free to move about the cabin. So the next goal is going to be adding the big board here that is going to essentially run the full length of the stairs. I'm going to do this in the other view. This view, only because it matches the view that I got of the other stairs. My reference. Okay, so I think the smartest way to do this is going to go out, down, back, and then all the way back up to here, where I'm going to run it back over. So this guy needs, let's do this, which makes sense. I'm trying to figure out if I can do it out of this board. So that needs to go back, almost like it needs to go back double. I think that's what I'll do is, let's see, take this board and shove it. I ain't working here no more. All right, there. That's down to the ground, Okay. So I think I can do that, and then we're going to delete this to this. So I think that and that. Okay. And then we're going to go to edges, and I'll bridge across here. Let's take a look at the side view. That has to be even. They're the same size. It just looks like it's leaning out a little bit further at the back. Regardless, that's what it's going to look like. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is go into here. And I'm going to delete, let's do this in the top view. I'm going to delete all my side faces. Like so. And then on the bottom rung. What the hell, I can get the back ones too. They're of no interest to me either. You. Ian. I got a call from Roger. Of all people. I love Roger. Roger's my uncle. For those of you who don't know Roger. He's a very unique uncle in that he and I are only about a year or so apart. And so it's made us slightly closer than your average uncle-nephew. That's the one. Although he's not west anymore. I mean, he's out west still. He's out in Fort Mac. But yeah, he's still out west. And he's given up on music, which was a little heartbreaking to hear, because he loved it so much. But yeah, he's done with that. He's done with that world. Which I never would have thought that would have happened. I never would have thought he'd have given up on that, because he, as I said, he just loved it so much. But yeah, he abandoned that. And COVID, I mean, granted, COVID had a lot to do with it, right? Because that was his income, was playing on stage, and COVID took that from him. And bounty hunters have been gone for a long time, dude. He abandoned bounty hunters when he went out west. And so yeah, it was just kind of him. And I mean, he had a slew of musicians working with him out there. But yeah, COVID stole that from him. When the interest in being in public started waning, and people lost that side of their lives, he had no choice but to give it up. And yeah, so now he's not doing it anymore, which is again, it's hard to hear that. This is a man I care deeply about, and to hear that he had to give up on the thing that he loved because of what was happening. And he said he won't go back to it. If and when the world goes back to normal, he's going to be done with it, because of his age, and he's just kind of coming to the realization now that it's 'tis a young man's game, and he's no longer a young man. And so, yeah, that's kind of the end of that, which is pretty sad. I don't know if I ever sent you his music video, but yeah, he did it for some time and enjoyed himself doing it, and now them days are gone, or behind him. And so it's really too bad to hear. And again, I'm sure that he is not alone in this, and that there are many musicians that this new normal is interfering with their way of life. And there's only so much that you can do. Yeah, it was a couple of years ago that he had done that. Okay. There's one flight of stairs. Let's go and attach this whole thing together. I don't know. I haven't really talked to him all that much. There was it was my daughter that put this together. But on my birthday, the family had a live stream for me, and had everybody kind of call in for like a video message for me. It was really surprising. More so touching that my daughter, my 7-year-old, was the one who wanted to put this together for me. And so I talked to him then, but it was in the midst of talking to a dozen family members all at the same time. So it wasn't a crazy in-depth conversation. But I know that he was struggling for a little bit too. not only was he a musician and making money from doing that, but he was also a booking agent, and he was booking bands, which, you know, that's when you've got two jobs and those two jobs both dry up, like, that sucks. And so, yeah, I know that they were hurting for a little bit there too. And I don't know what their situation is now. Well, my dad's been staying on top of things, talking to him and stuff, but yeah, I haven't been all that close to Howie in years. Okay, so I'm digging the way this looks. It means I may have to. We'll have to see in engine. This beam is not quite as square in the engine, so I might be able to get away with that. And I'm probably going to have to put a railing up here. It's not to code. I don't want anybody falling, getting hurt. I'm going to have a lawsuit, and then, you know, nobody wins in that scenario. Okay. Enough foolishness here now. I'm going to go in... let's use the bridge. So I'm going to use the bridge to get a material here for Unreal. And we're going to go see how this works. So I'm going to go to Surfaces. And in Surfaces, I'm going to go down to Wood. And here we've got a whole slew of wooden surfaces that have been put together. And all these various types of materials. All different shades of wood, birch, walnut, oak, all different styles of, all different layers of, not layers, levels of decay. You know, some of them are shiny, brand new flooring, and some of them is, you know, are kind of broken apart and less taken care of. You know, Japanese wooden door. And what I'm looking for is something that I can use as a stair material. So wooden planks might work. Ideally, it would be nice to have something that's just wood. Here's some worn wooden planks. The only reason that I'm worried about the worn wood is the long piece that I have. That runs the entire length. So this board here, I'm not going to be able to make that out of boards, which is why I was kind of hoping to be able to get this. Let's turn a poly on here. This is not going to go well. I'm going to say screw it though. That's what I'm doing with it, topology wise. And so, yeah, so boards aren't going to be the best way to go about doing this. I'm going to want more of a wood grain, almost like a solid wood material. Now, this is going to be harder to find because not only do I need a solid wood material, well, there's some plywood. Not only am I going to need a solid hunk of wood, but I'm going to need it to be in rough shape as well. There's wooden paneling, so these might work as well. I might be able to do this out of plywood. Let's see what else we have. And if all else fails, then we just substance painter this. But this is supposed to be the benefit of using this system. Oh, there's MDF too. Masonite. MDF would work if I could ding it up. And this is where mixer is supposed to come in handy too. However, I'm not interested in going into mixer. Okay, boat deck planks, dirty wooden planks, wooden beach decking. Let me see what this looks like. JPEG. Why you gotta be in JPEG? I don't understand you, so... Quixel. See, that would look really good for the boards. Okay, I'm going to grab this one. Worn wooden tabletop. And I'm going to see if I can't... Can't make it work. So that's been downloaded. I'm going to export it. That's going to throw it into the engine. And I'm going to actually need to bring it into 3ds Max here as well, because I'm going to UV this mesh to that particular set of boards. So what I'm going to do is create a material. I know, it's full of artifacts. It's garbage to begin with. But then I'm bringing it into a game engine that's going to compress it on top of that. Like, it's... I don't understand. Like, aren't these supposed to be people who know what they're doing in terms of asset creation? Like, isn't that the whole point of the mixer stuff? Or the, whatchamacallit? I don't know. I don't get it. So, let's go computer, D drive, megascans. That's the word I was looking for. Downloaded surfaces. And this was wooden tabletop. I got wooden planks, Dudafuk, and wooden planks, Thuskabiskidabu. The hell's with this naming convention? It's not those ones. Yeesh, there are 5 boards in this. Not what I was expecting. So 5 boards is going to be fun. Okay, so let's start unwrapping now. Grab this whole thing, and I'm just going to planar map to begin with. Everything. Close this off. And let's just do a flatten map. And then see what I can do. So these, let's do this and this. Let's get these out of the way first and foremost. I'd like to see which direction the boards are traveling. I think they're vertical. Yes, they are vertical. So I'm going to move these guys aside. And what is this? That is the bottom of those boards. So I may stitch that back into place. And then let's go see what we can do with this stuff here. So this one is going to be 2 boards. Vertex mode. Put this over here. Bring this down here. And that'll work. 2 boards. Next one. That's what I want to do. I knew there was a button that did that. I just didn't know where the button was. Okay, line that up. Next one. Let's move this over here. Yep. I think this is going to work. I think it's going to work. I do. Do that. Grab another one. Let's move this one over here. So yeah, we watched a bunch of trailers for the kids this evening, trying to figure out what movie we were going to watch, trying to get everybody to get along. And I have a I have a history of scary movies is what you watch when you go to a drive-in. And so that was where my brain went right away. It was like, let's watch a scary movie. And the kids are all like, but I'm 7 and I have night terrors. And I was like, grow a backbone. But they also had, their mom on their side. And so, I lose. So no scary movies. And actually, before you all condemn me, the scary movie that I was trying to get them to watch was Jaws. Which, like, literally the scariest thing in that movie is that you don't see the friggin' shark. But I was the only one in favor of watching that. And so that didn't go very well. To which the wife and I started looking at doing some kind of... that almost worked nicely. Let's grab 5 of these guys. 5 of these guys. Yeah, that'll work. That's better. Actually, I don't even have to do that. And so, yeah, so we're trying to find a movie. And so the wife and I went through a bunch of, like, 80s stuff. They were like, oh, what do we remember from when we were kids that our kids might like? Or, fuck them if they don't. We couldn't agree on anything. And so I think in the end, we're going to end up watching E.T. in the backyard. Which, I gotta say, in terms of movies that scared kids... My sister was terrified of E.T. when we first saw it. We saw that in the drive-in. And it scared the crap out of my little sister, man. She ended up thinking that E.T. was under the seat and wouldn't put her feet down. Like, ever. I still think she doesn't put her feet down. Well, that's not... right. You gotta flip this way. Straighten. There we go. So this seems to be working relatively well. I'm getting all the tops of the stairs to work nice. Yeah, I know. Well, that's the problem. That's one of the reasons I wanted to veto E.T. is that I have seen it recently. I also find it weird watching Drew Barrymore as a kid. Because I've kind of always had the hots for Drew Barrymore, and now it feels wrong to have the hots for Drew Barrymore. Hey, come on now. It can't be wrong to have the hots for Drew Barrymore. But they made it. They made it wrong. They made it wrong to have the hots for Drew Barrymore. How dare they? Let's do this. Okay. So I've got the tops of the boards. What am I going to do with these guys? Let's map them. Okay, first, you guys all should be nice and straightened out. Oh, but I'm not wrong, right? You know I'm not wrong. See? I'm not wrong. Just feels wrong. Although I think we're talking tainted goods now, because she She was married to Tom Green. And that's a train wreck you don't walk away from unscathed. It's Tom Green, man. Like, the guy that's... That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do this. Okay. How am I doing here? So, you need to move over. No. That'll do. You need to move over. You need to move over. Okay, and I'm not going to be concerned about the underside or the backs. And the sides just work out nicely. I've got a little bit of textile density issue, but I've got a whole lot more of not caring. Okay, so we're gonna bridge that, and might as well bridge those two. Where are you? Bridge, 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 and this one bridge. Okay, bridge. And now we'll take this. What in Sam hell did I do? I don't think I needed to stitch all that together. One more. Screw you, Max. Okay, let's try this again. Max has an orient to edge somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. It's been so long since I've UV'd anything in Max. How do you people do this? So this needs to be upright. And upright. Nope. Upright. And this needs to be upright. And this needs to be upright. Okay. Well, those are as upright as they're going to get. I think what I'm going to need to do is take these guys and move them up. I'll put them there. Because I'm not going to get much textile density out of this, but I'm going to try and do what I can to make it match. That. How does that compare? Well, that's not too bad. It's funny, this doesn't really read as being wood. Maybe with the normal map, there's something I'm missing. Maybe. Okay, this is just the bottom of the stairs. I'll put it there. Okay, convertible poly. Unreal's going to pitch a fit when I bring this in, but that's okay. Let's make sure that its pivot point is... That's the origin. That looks like the origin. And we shall export this tricky piece of stairs. So single row stairs. And yeah, that's fine. And Unreal. There. Let's go to my meshes. Let's get out of the mega scans and go into my meshes. So I need Cabin in the Woods, FBX, single row stairs. All good. Generate collision. Okay. Did I bring mega scans, surfaces, wooden tabletop? I did bring it in. Okay. Open the stairs, dock it, wooden tabletop, grab the material, and assign it. Let's go see what it looks like here. Okay. It definitely looks better than just the diffuse map. And there's even some nails in it, which kind of fits. So I believe now I can go to my mesh, grab my single row stairs, and I'm just actually going to replace the proxy stairs and rename it. Okay, and there we have it. Single row stairs. I mean, they're dark, but they're going to let light through, which is just as good. Now, if I could manhandle those in order to make the other flight of stairs, that would be super, super useful. Back in max. Unhide everything. And we have another flight of stairs. Now, I did make this other flight of stairs. That was made from the same boxes that were here. So the scaling is identical on that. And so I just had an idea. A wonderful, terrible, evil idea. You see what I did there? A wonderful, terrible, evil idea. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. Since those stairs were built off the same piece of geometry, I'm going to move the flight of stairs over here. And move it down. Well, that's really down. Too far down. And I might be able to get it to just think. No way I'm going to be able to do this in perspective. Let's do it in the left view. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to move it this way. Can I move it this way? Yeah. Negative 200. No, wrong way. Negative 199.5. Stop messing with me. 0.4. Okay, that's left. Let's go to front. And see just how close I needed to get here. What is this? X? Y? Y? Because I said so. Okay. Now, if I deselect the stairs... Ah, damn it. Okay, I got close. I'm just going to put that one underground. And look at that. 2 for the price of 1. In fact, I need a third one too. And so we'll do that. Somewhere, if I'm not mistaken, Ian, you might know this. Unreal has a active pivot or something, right? Could have sworn there was a put your pivot here button. Okay, down we go, down we go. Almost there. There it is. Rotate. 180. And that's gonna be a little problem. Come back. Yeah, somewhere that you can do that, right? I know it's a thing. I just don't remember how to do that thing. Yeah, I can't see shit. How do you do that again? It's a right click, right? Pivot. Set as pivot offset. Click. Alt middle mouse button. Holy shit. I didn't know that was a thing. How far into here are you? You're not. I don't even know why I'm putting this here. It's definitely not necessary. You're not going to see it. But I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. There we go. I did 1 flight of stairs and got... you're a little shorter than you need to be. And wind it up a little bit. That'll do. Okay, stairs are done. Walls are done. Floor's done. Ceiling's as done as I'm going to get it. I'm probably going to have to put some pipes and stuff up there to fill it up. Okay. So I'm going to save my 3ds Max world here. I'll save. In order to make sure that I get that back again. And I'm going to bed. Because I'm damn tired. I do have a couple of meshes that are almost done and ready to come in. I've got the wardrobe or the hutch that I've been working on, which has got gonna provide me with a bunch of meshes to fill up space. I think I might put a couple of these meshes here. I feel like I have to redo this this shelf mesh too. I think in my haste to get it done, I think I did it too sloppily. No, don't do that. Don't do that. End. End. End? You're not going to end. There we go. I think I did it too poorly when I did it, and it's too high poly. And that it may be in my best interest to not have millions of extra polys I don't really need. And so I may revisit the shelf. We'll see. Just adding a couple more shelves here. Fill up some of this space a little bit more. Probably wouldn't kill me to put another one over here too. So that one goes that way. That one goes that way. Let's put another one here. 90. I'm gonna go in and wiggle these things all a little bit too. I don't like when they're all set to perfectly 90 degrees. Ooh, that's not gonna work right there. Let's move it back to here. That should give me enough room to walk through. go have a look. Now, I've made so many changes to the basement that I barely recognize it now. This feels far more open to me than it did before, even though the walls haven't moved. Moving that tarp. Ian, were you here when I did the when I made the tarp? Ooh. What am I colliding with? Oh, the stairs of shite collision. I probably should have looked at that. Yeah. So when I did the tarp, I did it in Marvelous Designer. Oh, it's gonna have to move. It's in the pipes up here, in the things. I was looking for audio for the tarp, and I couldn't find anything. Everybody wanted me to pay money, or the clip was too long or too short, or obviously not the effect that I wanted, where it just sounded like somebody punching a tarp or whatnot, or one of them was just canvas. And so what I ended up doing is I was like, okay, everybody wait a second, wait right here. And I ran into the garage and grabbed my tarp and just crinkled it into the microphone, recorded it while I was doing the live stream. And it works really well. My creepy daughter. Cool. Yeah, I feel like there's some more stuff over here that could be brought in. Is that thing on the ground? That is a small-ass bench. Yeah, I just recorded it right then and there. It was like, done. That is now the sound. Yeah, I know. I went all out when I bought this mic. I love this mic. It is awesome, and so yeah, it does allow me to get some pretty good recordings. And so yeah, so I mean the sound of my daughter was recorded that way, and the tarp was recorded that way, and there's a couple more. I've got a couple other ones that were recorded that way. Oh, my son. Yeah, there's an audio track of my son saying, "I see." And it's really creepy. Okay. So I think I'm going to do one more shelf. I had an idea too. I found my shelf mesh when I was doing my collision, and it gave me an idea that I thought would be fun. Ooh, yeah, let's not put that in the light. Don't put it in the light. Stay out of the light. Okay, I don't want the chains in my world. They're just not worth it. Okay, one more light map bake. And we'll let this go through and do its thing, and then I'm gonna call that an evening. We'll see how this works. Dum ba dum ba dum ba do dum. Ba dum ba dum ba dum dum. I thought of doing the when I grabbed the sound for the Jack in the Box. I thought it would be fun to have it build up, but never hit that "Pop Goes the Weasel" part. Kind of leave you hanging a little bit, which might, I think, give you some nerves. I'm just looking for some interesting camera shots here while the lighting does its thing. I still have a tiny little bit of UI to go. The pick up and put back buttons are still not mine. And so I'm going to replace the artwork from those. Yeah, I don't know about flickering. So the lights that I'm doing are like old school incandescent bulbs. And they don't typically flicker. Unless there's like a power outage kind of thing, right? But they're not like neon bulbs or tubes. And so you're not going to get that. But I do have the candles that flicker that I've made. And they look really good once they're in here. If I go and drag one in here, boop, there's a candle. That guy will flicker. I actually wanted to have a couple of candles near this guy. Oh, that was kind of important that he had candles near him. So I'll put a couple there. And essentially what I wanted to do with the candles was just use them as a means of getting a little extra light out of some places. So for instance, I go and put one light up here on top of this barrel. And another candle kind of like right here. Maybe put one over here. And just, have a few candles kind of strewn about. It'll, I think it'll definitely help both ambiance. And I can make this one look like it burnt down a little bit by just bringing it into the ground a little bit. So these things all flicker. The only downside that I've got with them, I've got to retool how I'm doing the flickering. I like what it's doing, but it's not perfect yet. And what's not perfect about it is that it's oh, see, there's another good place. This might help those two meshes out here too. What's not perfect about it is that it's in unison. So it's not instanced across each one of these objects. They are each and every one flickering at exactly the same time. Which, again, looks kind of bad when you see a few of them together. But when you can look across the room and see a ton of them, that's where it looks really bad. Yeah. Look at the SSS on these things. Like, it just worked out so nice. Let me hit play and I'll show you what I need. Oh, they're overly bright. I'll have to tone them back too. Because those are nuclear candles there right now. Yeah, I gotta pull that back a little bit. Okay, let me fix that. See, they look good now. Why you don't look good like that all the time? Why you gotta be broken? Intensity, I'm lerping between 0.25 and 2. Let's just set it to 1. Yeah, see, that's still really blown out. Update. play. Your shit to loop. Only ever going to 0 and 1. I'm setting the intensity. The maximum I'm setting the intensity to is 1. What kind of jump scare? What are you thinking? There we go. Oh, yeah. Do something like that. That's not a bad idea. So it just adds enough extra light to this area that it doesn't feel completely black anymore. Oh, it's because I buried it in the ground. I was wondering why that was so dark. Let's see if I pick this guy up. Yeah, the candle's not doing anything to this. I'm going to have to put a couple over here too, but that's going to be where the washer and dryer are, so I can put them up there. I think I got to pull the brightness of the bulbs back too. Like, it's really hot up close. Oh, that's a good idea. Actually, you know what I've got? Is the shovel. I've got the shovel here. I can lean it up against one of the shelves. And yeah, have it hit a trigger volume, put some impulse into it, and just knock it over. Or even stuff like this board. There's a board here, too. I think my environment fog is turned off. Exponential height fog. Let's go into the volumetric and turn that on. Turn that up. Where's the fog thickness? That really... really doesn't let me get away with too much. Let's see what that looks like. I just put a little bit of exponential height fog in here. Oof. Yeah, it's overkill. I love the tarps. Yeah, I think I'm just going to tone down all the lights and get rid of that exponential height fog. The volumetric stuff is overkill. I thought I could set this as high as 2. There it is. I don't know why it wasn't giving me that option before. I'm going to warm this color up a little bit. Maybe too much fog. I feel like I got a cough. Yeah, It's actually brightening up the environment. Anyway, save all. And that is it for me. So there won't be a live stream tomorrow night. I'm going to spend the evening with my family. It's Canada Day. And so I wish you and yours the happiest of Canada Days. Stay safe, have some fun, but don't get too near anyone else. And we'll be back here again on Thursday. So come back and join me then. And